The aroma of rosemary and thyme wafted through the air, mingling with the scent of freshly baked bread and simmering stews. The kitchen was a sanctuary of flavors, a place where Betty's culinary magic came to life. Yet this evening, the fragrant herbs were a stark contrast to the macabre intentions brewing within Betty's heart. Her kitchen, usually a haven of warmth, had taken on an eerie ambiance, shadows dancing on the walls as if whispering secrets of the night. Her eyes, like polished obsidian stones, gleamed with mischief as she surveyed the spread on her dining table. Each dish was meticulously prepared, not just for taste, but for the sinister stories they would accompany. Tonight was no ordinary dinner party. It was a carefully orchestrated event, a feast of fear designed to chill the bones and stir the imagination. The table was set with dark, eerie decorations, each item chosen to evoke a sense of dread. Candles flickered, casting long shadows that seemed to move with a life of their own. This was a night seasoned with tales of terror, where every bite was a prelude to a story that would send shivers down the spine.
Welcome, my dears. Betty's voice was smooth, almost hypnotic as she greeted her guests. Her smile was warm, but her eyes hinted at the dark tales she was about to unfold. Tonight we delve into the shadows, into the unknown realms where fear reigns supreme. We journey into the heart of darkness itself, where the line between reality and nightmare blurs. Tonight we explore the tales from the dark side, stories that will haunt your dreams and linger in your thoughts long after the night is over.
Betty, a modern-day enchantress with a penchant for the macabre, had gathered her guests, or rather, victims, for a night they wouldn't soon forget. Her gothic attire added to the mystique, making her look like a character straight out of a dark fairy tale. Her guests, a mix of friends and acquaintances, were intrigued by the invitation. They had no idea that they were stepping into a carefully laid trap, a night of horror disguised as a dinner party. Oblivious to the impending doom, they chatted amongst themselves, their laughter echoing through the candle-lit room. The atmosphere was deceptively warm, a stark contrast to the chilling tales that awaited them. Their laughter, light and carefree, filled the room, masking the underlying tension that Betty had so carefully cultivated. They were mere pawns in Betty's twisted game, their fates hanging by a thread as thin and brittle as a spider's silk. Each guest was a character in her dark narrative, unwitting participants in a night of terror. The delicate spider silk symbolized the fragility of their situation, a reminder that their safety was an illusion, easily shattered by the tales Betty was about to tell. With a sly smile, Betty cleared her throat, drawing the attention of her guests. The room fell silent, anticipation hanging thick in the air. Her voice, a silken whisper that commanded attention, began to weave the first tale. The guests leaned in, eager to hear the story, unaware of the darkness that awaited them.
Our first tale takes us to the dusty halls of an auction house, a place where history and mystery intertwine. Here, among the relics of the past, lies a sinister artifact, waiting for its unsuspecting buyer. This relic, shrouded in legend and fear, holds a dark secret, one that will soon be revealed to the highest bidder.
A hush fell over the room, the earlier merriment replaced by an unsettling anticipation. The flickering candle flames cast eerie shadows, adding to the sense of foreboding. The guests, now uneasy, sat in silence, their earlier laughter forgotten. They could feel the shift in the atmosphere, the air growing colder, the shadows deeper. Betty, relishing the fear she had sown, launched into the first tale, her words painting vivid pictures of horror in the minds of her captive audience. Her expression was one of malevolent delight, enjoying the power she held over her guests. The guests' faces reflected a range of emotions, from curiosity to outright horror, as Betty's tale unfolded. Each word was a brushstroke painting a scene of dread and despair. The room seemed to grow colder, the shadows deeper, as if the very walls were closing in. The flickering candlelight created an illusion of movement, making the shadows seem alive. Betty spun her web of fear with an eerie expression, her voice rising and falling in a rhythm that captivated her audience. She was a master storyteller, drawing her guests deeper into the heart of the dark side with each passing moment. The guests, mesmerized by her tale, were drawn deeper into the darkness. The shadows seemed to engulf them, wrapping them in a cocoon of fear and anticipation. Betty's bewitching soiree was just beginning, and the night promised many more tales of terror. She spoke of Edward Bellingham, a vengeful soul consumed by bitterness and driven by an insatiable thirst for revenge. He had acquired a rather peculiar item, a cursed sarcophagus, lot 249, containing the slumbering fury of an ancient Egyptian priest.
The mummy, its thirst for vengeance unquenched, turned on me, its ancient curse claiming me as its own.
Edward, blinded by his desire for retribution, unleashed the mummy, using its ancient powers to unleash terror upon those who had wronged him. Betty described the mummy's relentless pursuit, its decaying hands reaching out from the shadows to claim its victims. The guests shuddered, their eyes darting nervously around the room as if expecting the vengeful spirit to emerge from the darkness. But revenge, Betty reminded them, is a double-edged sword. Edward's triumph was short-lived, his victory a hollow echo in the face of the mummy's wrath. A shiver ran down the spines of Betty's guests as she transitioned to the next tale, her voice taking on a sing-song quality that belied the darkness of her words. The room seemed to grow colder, the flickering candlelight casting long, ominous shadows on the walls.
Now let us venture into the world of Drogan, a man who dabbled in the dark arts and paid a hefty price for his curiosity. Drogan was not just any ordinary man, he was a seeker of forbidden knowledge, a pursuer of the arcane.
Drogan, Betty explained, was a collector of the strange and unusual, a man whose home was filled with artifacts that whispered secrets of the unknown, a man obsessed with the occult. His library was a treasure trove of ancient tomes and grimoires, each one more mysterious than the last. His latest acquisition was a jet-black cat, said to be a demonic familiar with a taste for human souls. The cat's eyes glowed with an unnatural light, and its presence seemed to suck the warmth from the room. Despite warnings from those who knew better, Drogan dismissed the rumors as mere superstition. He laughed off the tales of doom, confident in his ability to control whatever forces he might unleash.
The cat, true to its sinister reputation, unleashed a wave of misfortune upon me, each event more bizarre and terrifying than the last. It started with small things, objects moving on their own, strange noises in the dead of night, each event more bizarre and terrifying than the last. But soon, the occurrences escalated. Shadows seemed to come alive, whispering his name, and the air grew thick with an unexplainable dread.
Betty recounted how Drogan's skepticism proved to be his downfall. His arrogance blinded him to the growing danger, and he continued to delve deeper into the dark arts, oblivious to the cat's malevolent influence. The guests listened, spellbound, as Betty described the escalating horrors that befell Drogan, culminating in his gruesome demise. They could almost see the scenes unfolding before their eyes, each detail more horrifying than the last, culminating in his gruesome demise. The final straw was a night of unspeakable terror, where Drogan was found lifeless, his face twisted in a mask of sheer horror.
The cat vanished into the night, its mission complete, leaving behind a trail of destruction and despair, leaving behind a trail of destruction. Drogan's once grand home was now a ruin, filled with shattered objects and the lingering scent of fear, and a chilling reminder that some curiosities are best left undisturbed. The tale of Drogan served as a stark warning to all who dared to tread the path of forbidden knowledge. The guests exchanged uneasy glances, the weight of the story settling heavily upon them. Betty's voice lingered in the air, a haunting echo of the night's dark revelations. As the final candle flickered out, the room was plunged into darkness, leaving the guests to ponder the true cost of a cursed curiosity.
The air grew heavy with a palpable sense of dread, as if the very walls of the room were closing in, suffocating the light and hope within. The fog outside seemed to seep through the cracks, bringing with it an ancient sorrow that weighed on the hearts of those present. As Betty introduced the final tale of the evening, her eyes gleamed with a mixture of excitement and melancholy. She knew this story would leave a lasting impression on her audience, a tale that would haunt their dreams and linger in their thoughts long after the night was over. Her voice dropped to a hushed whisper, drawing everyone closer, as if the very act of speaking louder would shatter the fragile spell she was weaving. The room seemed to hold its breath, hanging on her every word. The story she told sent shivers down their spines, a chill that seemed to emanate from the very core of their beings. The listeners felt a connection to the tale, as if they were living it themselves, experiencing the sorrow and longing of the characters.
This tale speaks of a love so profound, so absolute, that it defies the very laws of nature. It is a love that transcends time and space, a bond that cannot be broken by the mere passage of years or the finality of death. It is a love that exists beyond the boundaries of life and death, a connection that remains unbroken even in the face of insurmountable odds. This is the story of such a love that defies all logic and reason.
She spoke of Preston, a man whose life was forever changed by a chance encounter. He was an ordinary man, living an ordinary life, until the night he stumbled upon a heartbroken gargoyle. This gargoyle was no ordinary creature. It was a being of stone and shadow, a guardian of secrets and sorrows. Preston found himself drawn to the gargoyle, unable to look away from its sorrowful eyes. The gargoyle, a creature of stone and shadow, was bound to guard a crumbling cathedral, a relic of a bygone era. Its existence was one of eternal vigilance, a lonely sentinel watching over a decaying monument. The cathedral, once a place of grandeur and reverence, had fallen into disrepair, its glory days long past. The gargoyle remained, a silent witness to the passage of time and the decay of all things.
The gargoyle, moved by my compassion, shared his tragic tale. It was a story of forbidden love, a love that was never meant to be, yet burned brighter than any other. The gargoyle spoke of a vow made in the face of death, a promise to protect his beloved even if it meant sacrificing his own happiness. This vow bound him to the cathedral, a prisoner of his own love. The vow was made with a heavy heart, a solemn promise that would seal his fate. The gargoyle's love was pure and unwavering, a beacon of hope in a world filled with darkness.
Betty recounted the gargoyle's desperate bargain, his willingness to sacrifice everything for a single night of human connection. She described his transformation, a process that was both miraculous and agonizing. The shift from stone to flesh was a painful one, each crack in the stone a testament to the gargoyle's determination and love. The transformation was a miracle, a moment of pure magic that defied all logic. The agonizing shift from stone to flesh was a testament to the gargoyle's love, a love that was willing to endure any pain for a moment of human connection. The transformation was both beautiful and tragic, a fleeting glimpse of what could have been. In the arms of his beloved, the gargoyle experienced a bittersweet joy, a moment of pure happiness that was all too brief. Their love was a fragile bloom, a delicate flower that could not withstand the harsh reality of their situation. But their happiness was fleeting, a moment of joy that was quickly overshadowed by the weight of the gargoyle's curse. Their love, though profound, was not enough to break the chains that bound him. Their love was a fragile bloom, crushed beneath the weight of the gargoyle's curse. It was a love that could not survive in the harsh light of day, a love that was doomed from the start.
As dawn approached, the gargoyle reverted to stone, his love forever out of reach. The transformation back to stone was as painful as the shift to flesh, a reminder of the price he had paid for a moment of happiness. His love, though eternal, was forever out of reach, a distant dream that could never be realized. The gargoyle's sorrow was a heavy burden, a weight that he would carry for all eternity. I was left to carry the burden of the gargoyle's sorrow, my life forever intertwined with the creature's tragic fate. The encounter had changed me, leaving a mark on my soul that could never be erased. My life was forever changed by the encounter, a moment that would haunt me for the rest of my days. The gargoyle's sorrow became my own, a burden that I would carry with me always.
Preston, forever changed by the encounter, was left to carry the burden of the gargoyle's sorrow. His life, once ordinary, was now intertwined with the creature's tragic fate, a bond that could never be broken. His life was forever intertwined with the creature's tragic fate, a bond that could never be broken. The encounter had left a mark on his soul, a reminder of the love and sorrow that he had witnessed.